June is just around the corner, and with it comes the year's most anticipated sequel. No, I'm not talking about the new Jurassic World movie or The Incredibles 2, but rather Shaq Fu, a Legend Reborn. To help celebrate the upcoming follow-up, we're gonna take a trip back in time to when putting Shaquille O'Neal in a fighting game actually made sense. Now is the time to turn away if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to be spoiling the story and ending of Shaq Fu on the Sega Genesis. This is Game Over, the early years. So the setup is believable enough. Shaq finds himself in the middle of downtown Tokyo while playing an all-star charity game in Japan. By following the Pepsi signs, he stumbles onto a small kung fu dojo run by an old man who insists that Shaq is the one from the stars. The star of Kazam is understandably confused, but assumes that the old man is talking about him being an all-star. Shaq, being the good guy that he is, invites the man to the charity game, but the old sensei has other plans for the 7-foot-tall basketball player. It seems there's a little boy named Nezu, and the only way to find him is through some sort of portal hidden away in a closet. Now, this is where most normal people would see the warning signs and get the hell away from the creepy old dude. But Shaquille O'Neal is not a normal person. He jumps through that portal and discovers a mysterious new world filled with people ready to fight him. Actually, based on the first interaction, it seems like he's taking the fight to them. Just right from the jump, we see an angry Shaq, assuming that a purple-haired woman is a witch simply because she has a bunch of skulls on her jewelry and is named Voodoo. I mean, she is a witch, but that's still kind of a leap for a guy who was following Pepsi signs just a few minutes ago. Anyway, they fight and Shaq wins, so Voodoo lets him pass instead of turning him into a little frog. Maybe if she started with that move, she wouldn't have lost, I'm just saying. Now, Shaq isn't nearly as confrontational with Raja in their first meeting. In fact, he gives the sword-wielding mystic some sage advice. But he doesn't listen, and the two men fight it out. When Raja loses, he reveals that Shaq will need to defeat the Colonel to stand a chance. Still on the search for Set Ra and the kidnapped boy Nezu, Shaq doesn't seem to get much valuable information when talking to Diesel. Get it? His name is Diesel. Yeah, real subtle, guys. Now, after a few dead ends, Shaq thinks that he's finally onto something when he fights a mighty undead sorcerer named Memphis. Unfortunately, all this does is reveal another target, Beast. Shaq now has to go fight Set Ra, the Colonel, and this Beast guy, and he's no closer to locating Nezu. Maybe this fat guy with horns will know something. Nope. So let's go ahead and fast forward a bit and get to a fight that actually matters. After Shaq manages to beat up this old guy, it's revealed that Nezu is actually the fighter's grandson. He talks about how there's this beast in the second world that brings skeletons back to life. Oh, and that Nezu is most likely hypnotized and probably gonna kill you. No big deal, right? This mind control theory is confirmed after a fight with Kaori, a Catwoman who has also been hypnotized by Set Ra. She also reveals that Nezu is being held on the Tombstone Island. Shaq knows that he's close. Hey, remember that Colonel guy everybody was talking about? Well, it turns out that he wears a plastic headgear bra. Wait, no, I read that wrong. Anyway, he's basically a cyborg, so Shaq kicks his ass. He was really no big deal. What is a big deal is the next fighter, who turns out to be Nezu. Or rather, a hypnotized Nezu, who, as promised, desperately wants to kill Shaq. I mean, Steel wasn't that bad. Anyway, all it takes is a boot to the head to wake Nezu up, which means the only thing left to do is to defeat Set Ra. But wait a second, we forgot about the Beast! This is Set Ra's greatest servant, a creature created from the Master's own shadow. This is an epic fight that takes place in front of one of the game's best backgrounds. It also ends with an ominous warning. Shaq may have defeated the monster, but Beast threatens to travel through time and space in order to fight again. We'll see about that. So it turns out that Set Ra is actually an old mummy that has slowly been regaining his power. He's not just angry at Shaq, but willing to destroy the entire human race for some reason. The two men fight, and here's what happens next. you know, I like this ending. It's short and it's sweet. I like that they actually pay off the Beast's threads and set up what could actually be a really interesting sequel. It also hints at what people thought we were going to be getting with Shaq Fu. Admit it, when you first heard the idea of a fighting game with Shaquille O'Neal, you probably imagined a bunch of battles on basketball courts. But there's none of that in this game, and I appreciate the restraint. There's never a point where Shaq throws a basketball at a guy or dunks as a fatality. Do you think we're going to be getting that level of restraint from the Shaq Fu sequel? Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, the early years. So here's the question of the day. Are you interested in the Shaq Fu sequel? Be honest. I know a lot of people aren't expecting much, but it sure would be a great story if the developer turned the cheesy concept into the best fighting game of the year. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but it sure would be amazing. In other news, this week brings a bunch of reviews, including throwback gems like Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon, Fox and Forests, and Die Valhalla. We have a packed week ahead of us, so I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.